Good to see everybody, and we'll get a lot in today. Just a couple of things. Of course, the main event is coming up for STLREIA on, let's see here, the August the 15th, and that will still to be announced. We'll have details on that. Of course, the breakfast that we started recently is on the second, let's see here, second Tuesday of the month at the Shack. So if you can make that, I know we have some Tuesdays are not good for me personally. I have a meeting ongoing, but that's okay. I hear a lot of good stuff about that. And we're here. Good to see everybody on Friday. Of course, we meet every Friday. We're in our fourth year now. So we've about 3.5 years into this. And we originally started this when we couldn't meet in person, and it's turned out to be a really good networking session. We have a lot of good all haves and wants. We get off-market deals. We also get people that need help with stuff. There's a lot of people that come on and just have a question, and this is a good, safe place to meet. So only other announcement I really have is tomorrow. In fact, I'll put it in the chat for you if you want more information, but we're doing a home buyer. It's actually a profit sharing home buyer mini workshop tomorrow. I've got it scheduled from 9 till noon. I don't think it'll be that long, but we do have a lot of things we're going to talk about on picking your neighborhood and getting financing. And we're going to talk about this will be for home buyers, investors, and also public authorities such as HOAs and POAs. We're going to talk about some of that kind of stuff. Homeowners Association. We're also going to talk about credit, which is a kind of a big deal. A lot of first-time home buyers and a lot of people that are experienced don't know a lot about that kind of stuff. And I've got some free gifts for you. I'm going to give away. We actually have a complimentary copy of the PDF copy of the book I wrote a few years ago on credit, secrets those credit doctors don't want you to know. So, and it comes now, the workbook's on there too. So that'll give you everything you need to know about that. So I think that's all I have. Okay. Good to see everybody. Let's let Laura give our disclosures, and then we'll get started here. So, Laura, are you with us?
I am. Good morning and welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to do a bit of housekeeping. Feel free to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. Please be mindful of everyone else by muting yourself while others are speaking. You're welcome to put any contact information that you want to share into the chat. We meet here to share deals, look for deals and solutions we have in need with our real estate. We are not your financial advisors, attorney, or accountants. We do not endorse or recommend any specific solutions or contractors here. You're advised to do your own due diligence to your own satisfaction before you invest. The first Friday of each month is usually Ask the Attorney with Ms. Catherine Davis. Our meetings are typically recorded, so only share what you want others to know.
Thank you, Laura. All right. Anybody have anything they'd like to get us started off with today? I see James up there. It was good to see you last night too. See your smiling face. We were at the landlord tenant educational program, which was very interesting down at the Central Library in St. Louis City. I had never been in the auditorium, and that was pretty amazing place. I didn't realize we had such a great facility right here. I've been in the library many, many years ago, but I had never been down there. I don't know if it had been remodeled or not, but that was very enlightening. And I think they could have went anyway. The panel, Catherine Davis was on there with, there was a couple of judges, and then advocacy for the tenants also. And that was some very interesting subjects, also questions and different points of view. So, I know they kind of kicked us out into the lobby at 7 o'clock and we had to leave, but it was pretty enlightening in a lot of ways. So, I hope they do that again, and be sure if you do see that again, make sure you guys attend, because it is very, very worthwhile to hear the different points of view here. So, does anybody have anything they'd like to sell today? I guess go ahead and start there. Anybody have anything they want to buy? How about that? Everybody having everything they want already. Just here to see smiling faces. Is that what?
See, does anybody have experience with Airbnb? I have a rental unit that I was thinking about converting over to Airbnb. I mean, on the surface, it appears attractive, but usually reality is something else.
Well, we were just kind of talking about that. Jeannie, you said you went to a homeowner association the other night. You want to just kind of mention that, what you were talking about?
Yeah, actually, at the meeting, it was here in my neighborhood, we have about 77 Airbnbs. And it was a young couple that was talking that they lived next door to, oh gosh, like a 10 unit apartment building. And I guess they sometimes will rent out the whole place for parties, and how disruptive that is to the neighborhood. And it was just kind of interesting because they are really becoming activists to get laws enforced for Airbnbs here in St. Louis, because there's absolutely nothing that they have to abide by as far as the owner of the property when renting these out. So it was just interesting of how, well, it was basically against Airbnbs, because this couple obviously doesn't want them in their neighborhood. So, but if you really are looking to turn it into, I think, yeah, Amber is on the line or on the call, and I know that she has some Airbnbs, I think.
Okay, I didn't know Amber had the experience.
What was the question? I apologize. I was
No,
multitasking.
yeah, that's all right, Amber. Yeah, how you doing? Hey, one of the, I'm looking at one of the buildings, the one that I've got on Russell, which I know you're familiar with. We had one of the tenant on the first floor left, and we were in there cleaning it up, and we thought, gosh, wouldn't it be, what would it be like to have it as an Airbnb, or where we could even use it on weekends if we wanted to. And so I started looking into it, and on the surface, it looks attractive, but I don't know what the reality is.
Oh, yeah. I think like you mentioned, I know the area. I think that would be a good area for Airbnb. As Jeannie just kind of mentioned, there are no necessarily rules, but I would look into the area to make sure the neighbors are not protesting Airbnbs in that area. But it's simple enough to figure out how much you should be charging. That's a 2-bedroom, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so that would be attractive as well. I think it would be a good option for you. We can talk about it offline if you want to call me. But yeah, I think it would be good. Yeah, we can talk offline.
Yeah, and I'd like to just we'll call you sometime and talk to you about it. I didn't realize you had that experience, but mostly what I'm interested in are the numbers. How do the numbers work out with the vacancy rate versus the daily rate? Does it really bring in any more? Then there's the practical issues of, what our situation is. Where we're gonna have to drive up there every day to clean it out, or pick it up and all that, So it's a lot of things like that.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So I clean my own Airbnb. But for you, yeah, you'll definitely have to sit down and look at the numbers to make sure it makes sense. I wouldn't recommend you guys coming to, and I would hope that you would have such a good turnout with yours that it's consistently booked on a regular basis. But I wouldn't recommend you coming up to clean it at all. So again, look at the numbers to make sure when you're factoring in a cleaning fee that you're making some sort of profit on it. Yeah, you'll have to, let me think about it and think about how much you could charge based on what other people in the neighborhood are charging, so that you are recouping at least some sort of profit. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And part of the reason for doing it isn't a profit motive, but my wife isn't concerned much about that, but it has to do with family, because when we have out of town family visitors, it could be a place that they stay. We could be there on weekends if we want to see a ball game or something and then stay overnight, that type of thing. So But for me, if the numbers don't come together, I'm not going to be really motivated to do it. But it doesn't have to generate, it needs to generate profit. It's got to support itself. That's the main thing. But
Yeah, and
we'll give you a call, and we don't need to take up everybody else's time here, but we'll give you a call.
yeah, and I would just say, because I know your property is a 3-unit, you should definitely be able to make a profit on it, whatever the cost is, because you can charge the other tenants basically to offset whatever it is when it's not being rented. So,
Correct. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Okay, thank you.
Well, I have a question about that. I've had some thoughts, into doing that. So couldn't you make your own rules, like no wild parties and things like that? And perhaps you would not get any protest. Because I know I've heard people saying that they don't like them in their neighborhood. But I mean, is that possible that you could, set your own rules, and that way they would not, attack your specific property, because they'll say, oh, this is nice and quiet, and what do you think about that?
yeah, you can always set your own rules. I have my own rules for my unit, but it doesn't matter if the neighborhood does not want, or if your neighbor does not want an Airbnb next to them. They don't care who it is.
Oh,
At least
okay,
in
I
my
see.
opinion, a lot of the time people just don't want someone in and out of the building.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I was thinking that they're, very quiet, you have a really quiet establishment there, and they probably wouldn't complain, but I guess you're right, they probably would still, because they see the people in and out. Yeah.
Well, correct, but I think I'm saying, just generally speaking, neighbors will say, well, I don't want an Airbnb next to me. It doesn't matter who comes, if they're quiet, if they're not quiet. It's well, I just don't want that as my next door neighbor.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Thanks, Amber.
Yeah, and Jeannie, is that what your neighborhood, now that I think you gave a pretty high percentage, but I feel like that's probably what's happening with your neighbors. Is there additional trash? Are they loud? If none of that is occurring, then I don't necessarily see the problem, other than people just want to complain. So if that is happening, I can understand that.
Yeah, it was a very bad situation for them, where they've had wild parties, drugs, prostitution. So it was very bad.
my.
And like I said, even they'll rent out the whole building and house 42 just for a big party. And they don't like, of course, even other neighbors. I think there's 77 in my little vicinity. And I guess we're talking about the downside of how you're not getting children in the neighborhood, and how it affects everything in the neighborhood by having the Airbnbs, because you don't have someone regularly living there or renting there, and just having people come and go that they don't know. But it got very bad where the police were involved, and and got onto social media, and so they're trying. They've become activists, and they're looking at following Kansas City, Missouri, because they have implemented some regulations with the city that people have to abide by. So they're looking to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's part of as an owner, I don't rent to anyone that is local, period, end of story. I don't know where you came from. I don't know if you're trying to move out and you didn't pay your last landlord. So if you have a 314 number, I don't rent to you. I decline those, and I have on several occasions. I also don't rent to people who just signed up yesterday. That is a red flag. I don't rent to people who say, well, my mom's coming into town and I'm renting for her. If you're not the person staying there, I don't rent to you. So there are things that landlords can do to be better landlords for Airbnb, and not just take the money and go with it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got something. So I'll pop it in the chat box. So 5372 Prairie Brook Lane looks like it's going to probably be back up on the market. It's under contract, but the buyer failed at this point in time to produce the earnest money at the title company. So I'm going to throw that back out there. It was off the market, now kind of call it back on the market. Maybe this person will produce the earnest money and come through with it, but legally at this point, it's not technically under contract. So that ranch in Florissant, it's a rehab. We'll throw that back out there. We had a lot of interest the last time on it, probably 15 people that were seriously interested. Serious is a relative term. About 15 people really interested in it. So if you're a rehabber, you want something that's fairly simple and easy, your bread and butter ranch house, you're not tearing out walls or, building an addition or a bunch of other stuff like that. Simple one for a rehabber. I put that in the chat box, but call David Randolph at 636-685-2990 for our audio only people, 636-685-2990, 1,200 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath ranch in Florissant, 119,000. ARV is always a debate. Okay, my houses sell, way over list, but that's because they're really nice. So if you're going to fix your house up crappy, then it's not going to sell, for that. So hate putting those numbers out, but people got to have an idea, what they're buying with it. So anyway, contact info is in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Do you happen to know that zip code up there? I know there's a couple, there's like 3 different.
Yeah, actually, I think it's 63033.
33. Okay, thank you.
That's correct. 033. So David, I have a rental up there on Barton Tower. If you, that's like the next street over, and it is a nice neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Thank you for that. It is. I mean, there's a lot of nice 2-story homes in there too.
Right.
Really nice place. That's why I think it should be sold retail, but make a good, land. I mean, you can rent that pretty good too. It just depends on your objective, long term.
Yeah, that's Whitney Chase, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Hi, David. Hi, my name is Lanessa. This is my first time on this group, so I'm not familiar with anybody here, but I just wanted to ask David, are you a real estate agent? Are you a investor just selling properties? Like, what's your what do you do?
Yeah, I rehab about 5 to 10 houses a year. So I'm a rehabber. We wholesale a few of them off. This one actually happens to be one of my students' houses. He lives in the city of St. Louis, and we are not, he's the guy that does the rehab and doesn't want to drive to Florissant. So it's all demoed, ready to go with it, for you to start in on, rehabbing it and stuff. But yeah, I'm a rehabber myself.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Ann Bollinger. I am looking to see if anyone here themselves or knows anyone that can help with turnover after tenant.
Ian, we can't hardly hear you there. If you're talking to us, can you turn it up a little? Or talk into the microphone, please? Hello? Maybe not.
I think she faded out. Yeah.
I think she did. Yeah, I think.
Well, I heard what she said. I mean, she said she wanted to know if anybody could help with turnover in between tenants, is what she said. I'm assuming that means for like a clean out, maybe repainting and vacuuming. I don't know, like some sort of refreshing of apartments or properties in between tenants. Who does that?
I don't know. That could cover a lot of different areas. I think we'd have to, and if you could unmute yourself and tell us, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll just assume that, yeah, it's
She
something like
texted it in the chat.
She plays, yeah, chat.
Where are we at here?
She wants South
Turnover.
County. It says,
Well, yeah, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I don't know. Yeah, turnover. You want help with screening tenants? You want help with clean out? You want, I mean, there's a lot of different things that could be. You need
Clean out.
clean out. Okay, yeah. Okay, if anybody's got any help with clean out for Ann. Would you want to leave your contact information in there, Ann? I think she's got an audio problem here, so. All right, here's, I'll read her contact. Here it is. Ann Bollinger, 775-230-3297. And the email address is annboll@yahoo.com. So there we are for people that have audio only, or if you're listening to our replay. So if you're here and you can see the chat, go ahead and jot it down. But that would, if anybody, let's see, can help Ann with the clean out in South St. Louis.
Hey, John, I have a question.
Sure, James.
I was wondering if someone, if you guys have any referrals for a tree guy that does some trimming and also pick up big logs from the yard. Like charge reasonable price.
Okay. Do you want to put your contact information in there,
Yes.
James? And also, if you don't mind mentioning it verbally. Does anybody have any recommendations for James on a tree person? No, I know typically we do have some people in here that do help with lawns and trees and things like that. It has came up. I personally don't have one right now. Does anybody else, if anybody else has, feel free to speak up. Otherwise, James, would you like to go ahead and audibly put your contact information out here too for anybody watching the replay here?
Yeah, my phone number is 314-884-0477. Thank you.
All right, thanks, James. Yeah, if anybody's got a tree guy, get a hold of James. Yeah, where is the property, James?
University City.
Okay, so it's in town here. All right. Thank you.
Wondering if anyone has ever heard or done a novations contract. Someone had introduced that to me, and it doesn't make sense, but it would be in place of doing a double close, where you would do a novations contract. No, I looked it up and it still doesn't make sense to me. So, anyway.
Okay, this is in lieu of a double close, you said, Jeannie?
I thought that's what they referred to it, of why you would use one
Yeah,
and save your cost on a double close.
yeah, I'm not familiar. Is anybody else familiar with it?
I think that, first of all, it's a marketing term. It was created in the marketing world to make it sound cool and, new product. But, as John knows, everything in real estate we've been doing for 30 years, there's nothing new. They just come up with different names for it. Real estate's real estate and stuff. And my understanding isn't quite about the double close. What I thought the novation stuff was basically nothing more than an options contract, okay, on a house. You write an option to buy the house. Basically, you don't have to sell it. You have the right to buy it. And so you're basically selling your option to somebody else. So You're not like buying, it's not like a wholesaler where you're assigning a contract or where you're buying the house, double closing and reselling it. You're writing an option on the house to agree to a price with the homeowner, and they give you, say, 60 days, and that's in the option contract in writing. Now you go out and spend 60 days finding a buyer. That sounds a whole lot like wholesaling, right? Okay,
Right.
but it's maybe, let's call it a little bit more, I don't know, call it legal. It's all legal, but it's a little bit more clear to the homeowner that, they're signing a document that says, hey, yeah, I agreed on this price for 60 days with it. So that's what I think the novation stuff is, from what, I've kind of tried to, pick up here and there with it. That's my understanding of it.
So isn't that similar to lease option or buyer? Or the
Well,
option? Yeah.
Well, it's part of it in a way, but I mean, in this case, in a lease with option to purchase, we're doing it with the renter owner. So I fix a house all up real nice, and so I want to sell it. Well, what I'll do is I'll sell it with a lease with option to purchase. So they're going to move in to it. They're not going to get the loan right now. So that's going from me to selling my house. I think novation is the other direction, where you're going to go to an unknown civilian homeowner and try and buy their house from them. But then, you're not going to actually buy it and move into it, or buy it and fix it up, or do anything. You're just going to resell it to a rehabber or to somebody else. So I think the novation is on the side of where you're buying a house, as opposed to
Gotcha.
yourself
Okay.
on it.
That I think that's more in line with what she was talking about, although it still is clear as mud, but thank you. I appreciate it, David.
I have heard some about novation agreements. You have more experience in it than I do. I can tell you what I've heard about it, though, is that with a novation agreement, it would be essentially, instead of wholesaling the house, you have the contract, the agreement to purchase the house. Instead of closing on it, you go in and you do the rehab work. You sell it for the higher price,
Mhm.
and you close on it then. They get their purchase price that you already agreed on, and you get to keep the difference, but you don't have to close on it first and then do the rehab and then make the profit. So that's where it's saving from the double close, but it wouldn't be wholesaling it. You would still essentially be fixing and flipping it.
Yeah, okay, so great, Tiffany.
Okay.
Thank you for that, because once, like I said, and as John Lee knows, ain't nothing been done in real estate we ain't done before, and that's called nothing but owner financing. You're just not having to get a loan to buy the house, so it's just owner financing on it. So yeah, it's like I said, I think it's a marketing term. So thanks for clarifying for exactly what that part of real estate they're doing.
Yeah,
Who owns the title until, I guess, still the original seller owns the title, even though you're doing renovations on the home? I would
Right.
think, okay.
yeah, I agree. I've heard with Tiffany, that's how I've heard the novation been explained. So the way she said it is what I've heard as well.
Okay. Great, thank you. That helps. It's becoming more clear.
It does help people who are going to fix and flip if they are contractors or they have those connections and they can do the rehab work or the repairs that are needed. They just don't necessarily have the money or have another person. Certain states won't allow someone, a wholesaler to close now. So they have to have somebody else that they're selling it to. So in certain cases, it can save some money on additional closing costs and things like that. And then they can make that money at closing when they sell the house after the work is done, versus having to have the entire purchase amount up front and then go put money into rehab.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they don't have to pay the entire purchase price at the beginning. So they just put their money into the repairs
The rehab.
and then sell it, right, and then sell the house, and they get to make the difference. That money then goes from the sale to the original owner, and they just make the profit, that difference. They get paid that at closing without ever having to actually purchase the house.
And are you a realtor?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. So is there a novations contract that's provided by a realtor?
There are different types of contracts that can be used for it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. That's very helpful.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I've been studying investing for years and really appreciate this group. So thank you to all of you for everything you do with this.
Mhm.
So that was a great conversation, but I have one question. Does this go in front of a title company, or is it just between the homeowner and the purchaser, if you will?
It would be between the homeowner and the buyer, which would kind of be the contractor at that point. So they have their contract, their agreement. All of that paperwork will still go to a title company, but it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be at the title company until the work is done, but it's all part of that contract. Now, there are people who would make the argument that you don't do anything until you have something opened in escrow. So if you have a contract of any kind, turn it into a title company, have them start it. It
So
doesn't
that's
matter if you're putting $100 in escrow just to open everything up, like, do something, and you can have it as, you know, a further closing date, whatever time frame you think it's going to be, and they can just hold on to everything as you do the work and find your end buyer.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head was going. Just me, how I am, I would be too nervous I mean, I understand it's a contract, but to go in, fix a house, and wait for the closing to get, recoup my money. Yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't like you're relegated to a mechanic's lien position in that regard. So, which is pretty strong if you follow the rules correctly. But I'm the owner financing that I was referring to is a little bit stronger and is a different way to do it in that you take title to it, but it's like subject to you're taking title to it, but you're leaving the homeowner's loan in place, and then you're basically selling it. So you are getting under the ownership umbrella, which I guess is what maybe makes some people afraid. But I tell you, as a contractor, I'd be afraid of not owning it and then doing all that work to it. And then
That would be my concern. Yeah.
you go to
And the downside.
Yeah, you go to sell it, and then the seller that legally owns it shows up at the title company and sells it to somebody else and doesn't pay you off, kind of thing. Goes to a different title company. That kind of happened to me once on a short sale. It was a stupid mistake on my part. But the seller basically, I had a contract, obviously, with the homeowner and was negotiating a short sale, and I was too greedy, too stupid, and was trying to, I needed to make $100,000 profit, and so I was negotiating, kind of deal like that. And some dude comes up at the front door, knocks on the front door, and tells the homeowner, "Hey, look, my daughter's getting beaten up by her husband or boyfriend. I need to get her out of that house, and I need to get her into another house. I'll pay you cash for your house." And so he offered him money to do it, and he signs a contract. So we had two purchase sale contracts, which is totally illegal by federal law. Yet he was able to go to another title company somewhere else and sell that house out, from underneath me. And so in that novation, if it truly works in that regard, and I'm sure there's much more to the novation process that probably has protections, but if you're just a mechanic lien position, I found very stupidly that someone else can go and sell that house with it at another title company, even though I had a purchase sale contract signed, and you can't sign a second one. And I actually it was terrible. I went and said, "Dude, you broke the law, you are in trouble." Okay. And stuff. Now it was too late. It was already closed. The guy had already bought it and it was done and stuff. But I went back and I did a mutual release, and I backdated it, back to when he signed that contract with that other guy, because if someone else found out that he had signed 2 contracts, that would be he'd be breaking federal law. And so we actually backdated the mutual release just to keep him out of trouble. And I went off and licked my wounds and, said, well, quit trying to make 100,000. You should have just closed on it, been done with it and be over with. And this guy comes in and makes up a story. And sure enough, there was no daughter. Nobody moved into it. 3 months later, the guy sold the house for an $80,000 profit on public records. Okay. And stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, I'd be worried about that on that novation stuff. Oh, real quick. So Ann, in case you can't see the chat box, for Ann Bollinger, for the clean out, I pulled up somebody, Chris and Tammy Dennison, at 314-323-1623. That's 314-323-1623. Chris and Tammy Dennison.
Great conversation.
Okay.
I think I would probably
Sure.
do things a little different than a novation contract myself, like David said too. I mean, I would think there'd be a way to maybe even do an option contract where you don't, like owner financing, but not make any payments for 6 months or whatever the rehab takes. I mean, there's probably ways to do it. I would also think you'd have to have the right title company for something like that. I don't know that any old title company would work, but yeah, that's some great stuff to know. Very good. Thanks for bringing that up. And thanks for the clarification too. Appreciate all the input. That's what's so nice about coming here on Fridays, because even if we know a little piece of something, we can hear everybody's thoughts on that and everybody's viewpoints, which is great. Looking in
So
the chat. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ann Bearden. I know there are 2 Anns, Ann B's on the call, so this is Ann Bearden. A question, yeah, has anyone ever sold a house to, those callers, like you get tons in the mail, those cards and phone calls, and they make it sound so great, like cash, we'll pay you cash, doesn't matter the condition of the house. Has anyone ever done anything like that? As a set, selling to those callers?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. That's typically a wholesaler that doesn't want to pay very much for the homes. I mean, I get those cards all the time, even from houses I sold 10 years ago. I mean, they just buy the list, and I seriously do. I get some of them, they even put offers in on them. Some of them are generic. I think the smartest ones I get are the generic ones, because then if you call them, you might have something else. But yeah, you just have to do your own due diligence, I think, Ann, as far as who they are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just wondering, is it really legit? I mean,
Well, proof of funds goes a long way. Have them prove it, give
Yeah,
you a contract, put it with a title company and have them prove it, if it's a good deal. Most of the time, they don't want to give you much. I know some of the stuff we've done in the past, wholesalers typically want to give you maybe, 65 or 70% of the ARV. And there's a lot of, the after repair value, which there's a lot that could go in before that. So,
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks.
Mhm. Yeah, I was looking at the chat here. So, Sophie, did you have something that you would like to ask here? Are you able to unmute yourself? There you are.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. Yes, thanks.
Sorry, good morning. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, my name is Sophie. I'm a realtor. I'm got my realtor license recently, but I have a house under contract that's gonna be closed early August, and it's need some kind of refresh, like new flooring, new paint, some repairs, plumber, electricity and electrician. So I'm looking for some contractors, if anybody interested in outside some fascia board, and doors, trims, things like that. And it just throw my information out there. If you're interested, please let me know. And thanks so much.
Thank you. Sophie, would you like to go ahead and mention your contact information audibly too? So those watching the replay or those that cannot see the chat can write that down, please?
Yes, I put in the chat. Oh, so, yeah, my contact information, 636-492-1022, my phone number, and my email address, sqliu2001@gmail.com. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Let's see here. And then we got Rico. Are you able to unmute yourself? It looks like you have something in the chat here for sale. Are you still there?
Yes.
There you
Yeah,
are.
so it's I have the property out in Overland. It is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And it does need has a kitchen fire in it. However, it just didn't really spread. I have images and you guys are free to walk it through. I have a lockbox located on the property. If anybody's interested, please reach out. Phone number is 314-438-7726.
Thank you, Rico. There's a good opportunity for somebody if you have any experience with fire damage properties. And do you have it looks like Mary asked for the price. You got 13,000, is that correct on that, Rico? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you have a lockbox on there, you said also. You can send the code if anybody wants to get a hold of Rico. Okay. And David, you're looking for a office assistant, is that correct? Would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's related to real estate because I do real estate and it's an real estate office, and you have to be a realtor, to come work for me. So if I, kind of expanding and need more help in the office, but you really need to live in St. Charles County because you need to actually come into the office. And so more if anybody on here knows somebody, that wants a part-time job, in O'Fallon, Missouri, working in the office, doing, all the stuff that I do, like, real estate, rehabs, wholesale, short sales, education side, the whole gambit, but it's all related to real estate, including my lending side. So I'm a hard money lender too. And so I want that realtor license so that you can do your ARV or do the ARV on the MLS with my system and my tools of actually how to calculate the ARV. So you must have access to the MLS. So yeah, if there's anybody that lives in St. Charles County looking for a part-time job, have them get a hold of me. I'll put my number back in here again with it, but it's 636-685-2990 and everything. So I thought I'd just bring that up while we're here. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Let's see. Then we got, it's like James McLean. You're looking for a fire restoration contractor. You want to unmute yourself and tell us what you're a little bit more detail what you're looking for, or give your contact information, please. I think you're muted there, James. We can't hear you, James. If you can unmute yourself. Okay. All right. Well, anytime you can do that, feel free to unmute yourself, James. We'll, if you can get that. Let's see. Then Tiffany, you're happy to help however you can. Okay. And you got your contact information there. Would you like to go ahead and give that to us verbally too, Tiffany? Is that possible?
Hi, my cell phone number is 731-589-4203. You can text that number anytime. The email address is T as Tiffany Barnhart, BARNHART, Homes, HOMES @gmail.com. Feel free to reach out if you guys ever need anything as far as, help with stuff, documents, comps, anything that I can help with. I get to learn and help at the same time, so happy to do it.
Do you live in St. Charles County?
I do.
You do? Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, let's talk if we can later. I mean, would you like to work for me permanently? I guess is what I'm saying, so to speak. I mean, you want to help somebody on here, that's great. How about if you help me all the time? I mean, it's still,
Well, thank you. And yes, my contact information is in there, and I have yours as well. So let's connect after the call. Thank you.
Yeah, just go to my website, thedavidrandolph.com, and you can see everything that I do in business and real estate. And so I need help with all that stuff on the website, on there. So a lot of interesting, fun things.
All right. Well, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking with you.
Good connections. And I did want to just mention that David and I had a good conversation on his short sales the other day, and we'll have that, actually we recorded it and we'll have that available probably the next day or so. So keep your eyes out for that. Yeah, thedavidrandolph.com. So that's, remember that one. That's, some good stuff. Blake, what else do we have here? Blake is looking for an accountant who specializes in real estate investments. Does anybody have a accountant they'd like to share with Blake? I think, Blake, you mentioned last week about a Facebook group. We've had a Facebook group for about 10 years now. I know Lloyd didn't know anything about it because I don't even know if he's on the internet other than our calls, but we do have one, St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association on Facebook, and you can connect with me, on there, and I can give you a link, or you can just go find it. It's pretty easy to find. It's not a place that we solicit anything, but it's a place where we do exchange information is what it is. And anything kind of like what we're talking about here. This is more of a place here on Fridays where you would want to buy and sell stuff, but any kind of other information, that's what we use our Facebook page for. So if you want to do that, and feel free to do that. Let's see. James, were you ever able to figure out to get yourself unmuted there? I see you're still up there. Okay, David came up with a clean out here. Let's see.
No, it's the fire restoration.
Okay, would you like to say that verbally for us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, James. So fire restoration, Paul at Absolute Clean, he does mold. He's certified in mold and in burnout houses. And so get a hold of him at 314-327-5745. Probably tell him you know me, otherwise he probably won't call you back, like most contractors. So, he does both mold and fire restoration. Now, restoration is a whole nother word. He's not going to rebuild your house, but he's going to secure your house in a manner that's certified so you can rebuild the house.
Also, for the person who was asking about the tree service, I think it may have been last week. I believe Mary had put in the chat for county tree service and living tree care for the two places that was recommended. I have not used either one of them. Just figured I would pass that information on from the previous meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good.
You're welcome.
A lot of good shares here today. I'm going to have to wrap it up here in just another minute or so, because we've got some other previous things, and we've got to get down to meet some contractors before they have to leave, and we've got like a 2-hour drive before we get there. So, but a lot of good things today. We are, like I said, we do have a home buyer workshop tomorrow. I'll put it in the chat here for anybody that might want to tune in. It doesn't cost anything. We've got it scheduled from 9 till noon. It probably won't be that long. It just depends on questions, but we're going to go over a lot of different things on neighborhoods, on the home buying process. This is for investors and in buyers too, for people that want to live in the home. So we've kind of got this pretty broad for people, and also homeowner associations. I mean, there's a lot of things we talk about. I know Jeannie brought up originally the Airbnb at the beginning of the meeting, and that's something that every neighborhood is different, and you're going to run into different things. So that's part of the process of buying the home. As you know, you want to know what you're getting into before you do it. Yeah, you know, a lot of times people buy homes and then find out what the neighbors are like or what the neighborhood's like. It's, you know, I found it's best to know some of that stuff up front. So that's one reason we're going to do that. So feel free to join us tomorrow. And we do have some free things for you. That's just a little information page I put in there. So if you want to find out a little bit more about it, feel free to do so. So anybody else have anything they would like to share with us before we go today?
Hi, John.
Yes. Hey, Eric.
I'm looking for private lenders for the short-term and long-term private money. So if anyone has some money to deploy, I am interested.
Okay. Are you looking, you said short-term and long-term, Eric?
Oh,
And,
yes.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to put your contact information in the chat, and could you give it to us verbally, please?
Yes.
Okay. You got it in the chat there. I see. Okay. And if you don't mind saying it verbally too, for people that might be watching the replay or the camera, look at the chat.
My name is Eric Rusinat, and my phone is 314-266-1210.
All right. If anybody's got any money, I know typically we do have people on here. There's I don't see anybody today. But yeah, this is a good place to put it and a good place to find some money.
What about me, John?
Well, there you go. Speak
But
up.
Mine's not private lending, and mine's hard money lending. So it's totally different.
Yeah, I'm interested in a private lender.
Yeah. You want the cheap money.
Not cheap, right money.
Well, reach out to David, Eric, and just see if you guys can come together on something. If not, just feel free to check back anytime. But if anybody else would like to get a hold of Eric, feel free to do so. He's got his contact information there. A lot of good things today. Did I miss anything? Let's see if I did. I apologize, and I appreciate everybody showing up today. Good seeing you. Watch your emails for updates on things. We got a lot of things, a lot of good things coming up. If you can join us tomorrow, that's great for the home buyers program. If not, we will see you next Friday. All right. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.